Hello, viewers. You're welcome to another edition of Coding for AI. My name remains Vincent Hope. So, this is lesson 2, where we are learning how to build or code an AI chatbot. So, let's jump right into it. So, in this lesson, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be doing writing a sample chat loop. Writing a sample chat loop. Now, what are we going to learn? We're going to learn about loops, conditionals, and basic user interaction. So let's move forward. Now, what are loops? Okay, so let's look at what loops represent in Python. So you have if, else, and elif. They are the conditionals. Then we have for and while loops, which we're going to see how it's going to be used. Then we're also going to look at getting user input, which we did a bit in lesson 1. So let's get started. Let's make progress. So now let's take this code cell here and see the code. Let's explain the code and see exactly what is in it. Now for this, we have x equal to 10. That means this is the variable x, and the value of the variable x is 10. It can be 6, it can be 7, it can be any number. Now the condition now is if x is greater than 5, you give the instruction print x is greater than 5 in brackets. Else if, that means if it does not fulfill this condition, it should check the second condition, which is x is equal to 5, print x is exactly 5. If it doesn't meet the second condition, it should go to the third condition, which is else, print x is less than 5. So if we run this code here, run it, you can see it gives us x is greater than 5 because x is equal to 10, which is greater than 5. Now let's make it x less than or equal to 4, for example. Now this was the previous answer, x is greater than 5. If I run this code now, it now gives me that x is less than 5 because this is equal to 4. So when it tried this condition, it did not work. It went to the second condition to fulfill this. Now let me say else print x is less than 5. Okay, this is, sorry, it printed here x. Okay, it printed that x is less than 5. I was supposed to put, let me put 5 here, for example. I put 5 and I run the code. It said x is exactly 5 because it fulfills this condition. It did not fulfill this condition, fulfill this condition. Now if I reduce it to a number like 3 and I run it, it says that x is less than 5. So this is how to use conditional statements in Python. Let's make progress and see how to use it more. So a brief explanation of if checks the first condition, else, which is short for elif, adds more conditions, then it falls back to the last, which is else. Now let's take another example for a simple loop. Now for I, which can be a or b or c or any variable, in range 5, print loop number, then print I, which is I is the loop number. If you run this, okay, you said loop number 0, loop number 1, loop number 5, up to 0. So it's taken from 0 to 4. If you calculate it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I change the range, for example, to 7, and I run the code again, you will notice that now it has taken from 0 to 6. So it continues to run until it gets to the last range that is being put in this bracket here. So for I in range, print loop. This is how you use it in Python. Now, a brief explanation as we make progress. The range 5 gives numbers 0s to 4. So if it is 7, it will be 0s to 6. If it is 10, it will be 0 to 9. I is the loop variable. Now, it does not mean that I must always be used. I can decide to say for A. Then if I change for A, I must also change it here for A. If I run it, I still get the same answer. and the content here can check for loop number, or for loop, like we can put for loop or we just say loop number. Sorry, you can always play around with your code. Answer, loop number, answer. Remember, here is just loop number. I put loop number, answer. Okay, you can see what is giving me here. So we have played around with this code. Now let's make progress. Let's progress. Now a simple while loop. Here in the previous one we used a for loop. In this other example, we're going to use a while loop. Now say count equals to 0. It can be any variable, it can be A or B, it can be Z, it can be anything. While count is less than 3, print count is count, means count is this variable. Count equals to 1, add 1 each time. So if I run this variable now, I run it. Okay, it keeps adding 1, 1. Now there was a mistake. I'm supposed to put a plus sign here. Let me terminate it here. Terminate. I terminate this here. It's still running, so let me terminate it here. So it continues to run. There was a mistake. I'm supposed to use the plus sign here. Let me wait and terminate it here. Sometimes errors are also good, so that it can help you to understand how to use what the errors you shouldn't make. Now, while this is holding on, I can simply open another Kaggle. Let me leave this one to be running so that we don't waste time. Let me go to another Kaggle environment. Simply type Kaggle, and come back to that option and see. Let me see whether this one is running. It is still running here. Okay, we simply come here before we continue. That was the error we had before. We put a plus in front of this so that it doesn't continue endlessly. Then if we run this loop, remember it was count equals to 0, while count less than 3, print count is count, then count plus 1, add 1 each time. If we run it, okay, it says count 0, first one is 0, second one is 1, count is 2. Let's say we add 2 each. We add 2 each. We run it. Okay, you can say I have 0 at 2. Okay, so let's assume, so we leave it at 1, and we make this this one less than 5 and see how it works. Less than 5, we run it. You can say 0, it adds 1, it becomes 1, adds another 1, becomes 2, another 1 becomes 3. So this is how to simply use what this while loop. The previous one we used is the for loop. So let's make progress. Let's make progress. Okay, now let's look at a brief explanation. It runs at least as long as the count is less than 3, which is what we just saw now. As long as the count is less than 3, it keeps on running. It says be careful while the loops can run forever if you forget to increase the count. And that was what just happened before we had to pause it and restart it. So let's make progress. Now, simulating user input with a list. Now, let's examine this code. User input is hi, how are you, and bye. It's in a list. It's in a list of like a box here, which you will find in the data analysis training. So you go check that lesson. Now, it does say for user input, whatever this is, whatever for user input in user input, print user input. Okay, print user input, which is what you will enter here. Print user input. If user input is high, print bot. The bot will print hello. If it is user input is how are you, the bot will say I'm doing well, thanks. Else, if the user input is bye, the bot will print goodbye. So let's see how it works. Now let's run it from the beginning. We'll run it here. Okay, now this is a simulated event. Simulated means it has done the job itself. you don't need to have any example. So if for example, if the user input is user input is hi, it prints hello. How are you? It prints I'm doing well, which is what it was given here. Bye, it prints goodbye. This is what is simulated. Now we're going to work on it practically and see how it functions. Now let's go back to the practical functions of it. Now let's take this example here. So if I run this code now, so if I run this code now, so let's say this, if we run this code here, now it says while true, message is you input. You can see you here now. So what do I input? If I input, for example, Vincent, if I input Vincent and I press enter, it said I'm just a simple box. That's what it said. Anything I enter, because it only gives two messages, it said if you enter quit, it says goodbye. If you print else, anything, put I'm simple. But if I put I am a techie, for example, if I am a techie and I press enter, it said I'm just a simple bot. It will keep on repeating this. Let me see another one. Today is great. I press enter, it will keep on repeating I'm just a simple bot. But if I type the word quit, and I press enter, it will tell me goodbye. So it's responding to the code that was allowed here in the chatbot loop. Now this is for a small loop. Let's get a bigger loop and see how it functions. Let's get a bigger loop. Now let's look at this explanation. While true keeps bot running until the user types quit, which is what we just saw. Input takes user input from the console. If else, elif or else matches known phrases and replies. It gives you. So we just did that. Now let's look at how a chatbot group will function. Now let's examine the code. Print hi. I am a chatbot. Type bye to exit. That's number one, which will print out. Now why it is true, when the user inputs you, so if the input is hi, which we just simulated, it will print hello, how can I help you? Else if you either input is how are you, it will say I'm just a program, but I'm doing fine. Another condition, elif, if the user input is what is your name, you say I am chatbot 1.0. Elif again, user input bye, it will say goodbye. Else, it will say sorry, I don't understand. Let's operate this and run it and see how it works. Now it has printed hi, I'm a chatbot, type in bye to exit. Now let's make progress. Now what is the first condition here? Hi. Let me just type hi. I type hi and I press enter. It says hello, how can I help you, which is the response that you entered in the chatbot in the loop here. Now next response I shoot from the console is how are you. Let's see how it is. How are you? Press enter. It will respond what it's from here. Thirdly, I can now, it has responded, I'm just a program, I'm doing fine. What is your name? I say, what is your name? Press enter. You say I'm chatbot 1, which is this. And if I say bye and I press enter, it responds goodbye. Now, what if I type anything else? I said, if I type, okay, that's it. That said goodbye. Let me now run it again. And I type, let me first type hi again. I type hi. What did he say? He said, hello, how can I help you? If I now type If I just type something like "what's up" and I press enter, what did it say? Sorry, I didn't understand that, because it's not part of the coding, it's not part of the loop process, it's not part of the conditional process. If I say I am Vincent, I press enter, it said sorry, I don't understand that, because it is not part of what was coded in the code. So it all depends on what you entered in the input and the appropriate response you told the bot or the chat loop to respond. So this is actually how you use or you work with or code a chatbot loop. So let's quickly go through it again so that we started with conditionals in Python. We had a fixed variable x is equal to 3. We used if is greater than 5, print this, else print this. So it checks all the conditions and gives you a response. We also did for input using a for loop for a in range 7. It is range 10 from 0 to 9 and the rest of it. We also treated, let's move forward. We treated a simple while loop using count and look at while count less than 5, and we got this result. Then we also treated we simulated this process, meaning that the program answered itself without any interruptions. And we finally came and run it directly here using a small sample. We got this. Then we came finally to run a larger chat loop and we saw the response, and the code responded based on what was inside. So this is how you code a simple chat loop. I hope you have learned something today. My name remains Vincent.